Um, so as we went about the process of certifying for a virtual Zoom convention, we of course did the same thing through the state with our county meetings, and we actually we gave every member in the state of Kansas the opportunity to meet with us with either Zoom or by phone. And the result of that is our delegate list for this year. And so in the convention book is a printed delegate list, and this is pretty well refined. We haven't had any requests since then to add delegates, and so we're going to go on from there. And only delegates are on the Zoom call. If you're not a delegate and just watching the convention, then you're on Facebook, and so we're a tight-knit family. I'm going to ask Mary Howell to take roll call, and she's going to do it from the voting delegates listed to see who is here, and that'll give us a number for moving forward with our convention. And while you're doing it, we've got a couple of new people participating that don't usually, and so a few words about yourself. Keep it short. We want to move on, but especially those that haven't been active before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Don. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go down the list in the order that it's listed, and when I call your name, please tell us your name, your county, and especially if you're new, a brief message about you. Kent Anderson. Demetria Stevens.
Hello, I'm here. I'm, I guess, one of the people who hasn't participated in KFU before. I have been a member for several years now personally. My family's farm has not been a member before. I have worked on my family's farm for many years in Decatur County. Would be the 5th generation on my family's farm. And we're certified organic since 1994, raising wheat primarily, but also cattle and some other livestock. So thank you. I
might add that Demetrius is the niece of Greg Stevens, who's a pretty strong ally of Kansas Farmers Union and his work with NFO. And so it's a good name. Thank you.
David Hines. Are we having trouble getting people off of mute? They have to come off of mute to answer. We had David. No?
David, you're still on mute.
Try that.
There.
you go.
Dickinson County.
Dan Howell.
Marshall County.
Jack Geiger.
Brown County, 6th generation Kansas farmer, heavily involved in organics.
Ed Resnicek.
Nemaha County.
Gerard Steinlage. Mary Fund.
Nemaha County.
Thank you. Mary Beth Steinlage. Tom Nehus. Frank Nehus. Don Stahl.
Douglas County.
Paul Conway. Matt Ubel.
Hey, Mary, Paul Conway just joined, so he might not be connected to sound yet.
Okay, I will mark him yes. Thank you. If you notice anybody that doesn't answer, help me because I don't know. Matt Ubel. Laverne Podizak. We heard him a
think
minute ago.
I think he's on there. Yep.
Yep. Donna Pearson McClish.
Sedgwick County.
Linda Hessman. Jason Schmidt.
Hey, Mary, Linda Hessman did join.
Okay.
She's mom.
I'm here, Mary.
Thank you. See, I don't see any of this, so I'm just going by what I hear. Jason is here, right? Jason?
I see it. Jason's iPhone.
Okay. Ryan Gertzen Regier.
Harvey County.
Herb Bartle. He's
Herb's
here. Tom
Marion here.
Good. Thank you. Tom Giesel.
Pawnee County, as well as Cheryl.
Felix Ravello.
Pawnee County.
Okay. Does anybody see Ken Anderson and he wasn't able to answer at the very first? And anybody see Steinloggies or Niehuses? Second call. Okay.
I think the Niehuses are on. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Both of them?
The account
Frank.
Niehus TK.
TK Niehus? Is that what you said, Mercedes?
Yeah, Olivia, actually. I know we sound almost exactly alike.
Yes, you do. So it was Tom. It's TK Niehus and not, you don't see anything about Frank? Just one?
I believe that's
Just
correct.
Tom. I don't think Frank was going to be able to be on.
Okay.
I do think that Mary, the Steinloggies might have just gotten on, Mary.
Okay.
You might want to.
I will.
Gerard and Mary Beth, are you there?
Yes, we are. I was trying to use our computer and our phone both, and our Wi-Fi dropped both of them. So it's like, okay, we're back to computer now. Anyway.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, we have 19 members seated at this point.
Okay, thank you. That's the delegates that'll be conducting the business of the organization tonight. So, first thing on the list is officer nominations, president, vice president, and then district caucusing. Election committee is Olivia Taylor Peckett and Laverne Podizak. Laverne's done it a lot of years. Olivia is more tech savvy than he is, so this ought to make a good combination. So we'll turn it over to Olivia and Laverne now.
Yeah, this is Laverne. I'd like to nominate Don Teske for president, if now's the time. I lost everybody.
No, you're there.
Nope, we're all here. Are there any other nominations for president? Any further nominations for president? Last call for nominations for president.
I move nominations cease, and is it in order for us to cast a unanimous ballot or not?
Yes.
Okay, I would move nominations cease, cast a unanimous ballot for Don Teske.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, so nominations for president have ceased and we've got Don.
Well, you probably ought to have a vote by the delegates, so there'd be time for a poll. Yes, if you want to get stuck with me for another year. No, if you don't. Vote now. What's the matter, Tom?
I don't know. I thought about putting something in the chat, but I don't want to influence the election.
Well, thank you. Olivia?
All right. So were we all able to see those poll results there for a second?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So we do have a unanimous vote for Don Teske as president. All right. So now we move on to vice president, I believe. Laverne, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, but I don't have the sheet, the names are in front of me, so you'll have to kind of take it from here. I haven't got it printed off. I mean, I can't figure out how to get on my phone with it.
Okay. Well, do we have nominations for vice president?
I nominate Ryan Gertzenrieker.
And I believe I have to ask Ryan, do you accept?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Any further nominations? Any additional nominations for vice president?
I move that the nomination cease if there are no additional nominations.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second that, Jason.
All right. Thank you, Jason. So we should have another vote.
I would think maybe then that meant unanimous ballot. So, yeah.
Yes. To accept.
So for the record keepers, Tom moved to cast a unanimous ballot. And we need to make somebody have a second there.
I think Donna made the motion. I just wanted to make sure that she added in about unanimous ballot. So
there you go. Yep.
Well, Laverne can second.
I think Jason had seconded, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Correct.
One motion is for the candidate. The next motion would be to cast a unanimous ballot. That's two separate motions because there wasn't a third one. So I don't mean to get picky, but that's what us old guys do.
I appreciate it, Don. All right.
Thank you. And Ryan is it.
Okay. And so then we have one board of director from each district, the North and the South District. And I believe that normally when we all can be here in person together, we shuffle off into our two sides of the room to discuss who our nominations are going to be, but we're going to be doing that virtually this year. And so I think Mercedes will have sorted us out into the two breakout rooms. And I think that we should be breaking out here in a minute to have our discussion about who each district wants to nominate to be their director.
question, whose terms are expiring in each district?
I think that's Mercedes. Can you remind me of that one?
Jason and the South District and Matt for the North District.
Emma, Ethan, I'm in the breakout room and not everybody's name is showing up. I can't remember how to get people in.
Okay, one moment and we'll help you figure that out.
Can somebody share who the other district directors are that are not being re-elected?
From the South District, it's Donna Pearson McClish and Rosanna Bauman. And then Jason, his term is up, they're staggered terms. And from the North District?
Yes, and then also Jill will be our leader for the North District breakout room, and Ryan will be the leader for the South District breakout room.
Right. But the directors for the North is Matt, and whose term is up, David Hines from Abilene, and Jill Elmers from Douglas.
I found the secret button. I'm going, guys. Just give me a sec here.
Thank you.
People want any further clarification, I can share our board page so you can see everyone, if that's helpful, briefly before we go into caucus.
Okay. Whoa.
Oh, sorry, Mercedes, not trying to.
Isn't he fancy?
And I really need to change that picture.
I was just thinking, Donna, how good that I like that photo of you in action.
Okay, I think we're ready to go into rooms. Ryan and Jill, just message me in the chat when you guys have finished your caucusing, okay?
So what's the decision of the Southern District?
We nominated Jason Schmidt to serve another term, and it was a unanimous vote for him, I believe. Congratulations, Jason.
Yeah. And for the North is?
Yes, so we did the same thing for Matt, whose term was expiring.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we have our board. That makes elections easier. So back to you, Olivia, but it's delegate time.
Yes. So now we're voting on national convention delegates. I believe that we have 3, right, Don?
Yeah. I hate to start you this way and then stop you again, but we got Royce waiting for the financial report. We could take a break from this and come back to the delegate election.
Okay.
Royce, are you available for the financial report?
I think I just unmuted. Can you hear me, Don?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, well, we can always add the excitement, the convention by talking about the treasurer's report. And Mercedes put the financials. We have assets and liabilities. We're going to start right there. You'll see the first column is the snapshot picture as of September 30th, 2020, just a few months ago. And then we're comparing it to September 30 of a year ago. So let's just look at the assets that we have. As we go down the list, we have the first number of lines are all cash. And when you add those, it comes to $16,654.41 in total cash in all of the various accounts, savings, including savings. The inventory is just supplies inventory, and then we still have those belt buckles. So our total current assets are $35,668.97. Then the next, which is our largest asset, is the investment in Midwest Insurance Agency. And I know Don told me that it's changing its name. So, and I don't have that name in front of me right now, but that's the old LLC, the old name for the LLC that we own 10% in. And that is carried at the tax basis account, not market value, but tax basis. Doesn't really affect us what the tax basis would be. So we have total assets at the end of this last fiscal year of $379,477.97. When we look at our accrued or our liabilities, we have the total current liabilities of $12,112.92. And most of that, well, we have some accounts payables, we have some payroll taxes, but then a new one that showed up this year. Well, we've got a 401k or a retirement plan here of withholding. And then the new one is the income taxes. And this is going to be The earnings from our LLC is considered unrelated business taxable income. Several years ago, we had a loss, and we've been carrying that unused loss portion as a net operating loss forward. Well, this is the year that we've used all of that, and so we ended up with some taxable income, and we'll probably have that in the future. We'll cover that income that's showing up on the Schedule K1 as our distributive share from the LLC here shortly. So we have the total current liabilities at $12,112. We have the large, this pension loan, that $96,433.74. That was a 10-year loan. It a year ago, we bought our way out of the defined benefit plan, and it appears that without me looking at the whole arrangement, I can tell that the plan was unfunded. None of our, we didn't cause that. I think there was a lot of market drops, and that's what the pension actuary is supposed to keep on top of by telling us how long our plan participants are going to live in total. And so it appears that there was an underfunding, and a little over a year ago, I think, the National Farmers Union loaned us that amount, and we have to pay that off with some interest. And that $96,433.74, the difference, you can see that's about $10,000, a little over $10,000 in principal payment, and then we'll see the interest expense when we look at our expenses. The beginning equity account was $256,289.51, and we do have a book income of $12,976.80. So you can see our negative, we have a equity of $269,266.31. And we'll look at that comparison. Why did we have that loss last year? And we'll look at that when we get the profit and loss. Do I have any questions on assets and liabilities before we move on to the next page?
Any questions?
Okay, I'm going to roll right ahead, but if you think of a question, you let me know and we'll come talk about that. So we're going to look at our revenues this year. Revenues are $229,184.95 compared to $255,777.20 last year. Again, this is our we're looking at the 12 months ending September 30th, 2020 is this year. We have let's see, where was the big one? The interest and the dividend. Almost all of the interest and all of the dividends are included on that Schedule K1 as our distributive share from our LLC. The next line down, that $40,786, that's the amount that is their business income, and that's what we have to look at paying our income tax on that one. And we'll be having to do that here in the future, it looks like. So and it's good that they make a profit, but unfortunately, that's going to be hitting us with some tax each year. Then we have, and I think that crop fee, it's the different codings there. I'm not quite sure, but I think that's related with our insurance service fee income of $66,485.18. Don, you could correct me if that's in error, but I think that's where that number's coming from. And then we have a foundation income reimbursement. That's compared to that reimbursement KFU foundation expense of the $23,564 last year. Those should be on the same line, but they didn't get the right coding on that. I didn't catch it until we were just reviewing this. And so that is the amount that's being reimbursed from our foundation, which is a 501c3 organization. We are paying expenses for them, that entity, and then they reimburse us, and that's what the reimbursement is supposed to be. So included in their expenses are listed expenses that we see down in our operating expenses, such as salaries, because some of the salaries is really grant writing and some of the expenses there. So revenues, then let's just go down. Our total expenses are $216,208.15, and we have salaries, we have some travel, Last year, we discovered we had a negative travel, but that's probably with the, when you combine that legislative expenses, the bulk of that is travel to find out what's happening in legislative activity to report back to members. Other items here that you will see, we have some office expense and some rent, and we have some reimbursements because we are subleasing an office in that in the office space that's in McPherson. If we just keep following down to the last line, the pension funding, $761.58 is our current cost for the 401k or the retirement plan now. The $119,480.34 was our big that was the big cost of getting out of the defined benefit plans that we had, and that you can see led to a big loss last year. But we're, according to our financials this year, we are making a little bit. We're above water here, so we're back on track on that one. So let's stop, and we'll if you have any questions on the revenues and expenses, let me know now.
Any questions?
I have a question. What's the line item FSMA 3?
Can you repeat that, Jill? I couldn't quite make it out.
Yeah, sure. The line item that's FSMA 3 as an expense, what is that?
I think that's part of the expenses that are. Where's our?
Yeah. We've gotten 3. We're on our 4th grant for Food Safety Modernization Act and food safety training. And so the FSMA 3 would have been money transferred out of the foundation for legitimate expenses implementing that grant. The grant is all transferred to Kansas Farmers Union through our 501c3 foundation and then used from there.
I captured a lot of the expenses in there, and then that is really not our expense. That should be foundation expense, but it's included in our foundation income reimbursement. So that's part that nets out of that reimbursement there. So if we went back and audited all of that, in the perfect world, we should see the foundation income and there's about to be a 44,000 of expenses down in our operating expenses are really the payments that were made by the Kansas Farmers Union on behalf of the foundation. And then we're going to look at the foundation first 9 months here in just a minute, and they don't quite correlate because that's on a 9-month basis. But we can talk about that in the future. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, well, there we have the Farmers Union. And then now we're going to look at the foundation and see our Farmers Union has a September 30 year end. The foundation is calendar year. So that is a, we could back out 3 months and include 3 months and put it on a comparative basis. But we have the September 30 of 2020, 9 months worth. You can see we have cash in bank of about $38,957.70. That would be our equity because we're not reflecting any loan here payable. Our revenues, this is just however the revenues had been coded into the deposits into the foundation bank account, and then we have the grant, farm aid grant, and the operating expenses here, and that's on a 9-month basis. So we aren't going to be able to match that into our September 30 for a full 12 months period. So then we do have, after page 11 right there, we do have comparative for a full year, but that's on the calendar year basis, and that's just letting you know that as of December 31 of 2019 compared to the year before, we had that $28,651.12 in cash. For the year, we had $40,149.50 considered revenues and $39,881.10. So we're we're matching up those to make sure that the contributions and the grants going in are being spent for the operation of the purpose there. So, okay, with that, I'm to the end of the reporting pages here. So any overall questions here? And if not,
We appreciate it, Royce. Is there a motion to accept the financial report? Anybody?
This is Ryan.
This is Linda. I would make a motion to accept the financial report.
So we got it from a motion from Linda and a second from Ryan.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Poll time. Vote yes for accepting the financial report. Vote now. I watch him do that at National all the time. I just want to do that as often as I can. Very good. Motion passed. Thank you so much, Royce. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. So.
Hey, no problem here. Have a good conference here. I look forward to talking to you later then, Don. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Turn it back over to Olivia again then. You still there, kid?
Yes, I am. All right. So like I was saying earlier, I think we have three spaces to nominate people to be our representatives at the National Convention. So normally that involves significant policy debate and voting on bylaws and not bylaws, right, Dawn? But definitely the policy partition. So if we want to talk a little bit about what that is.
No, the voting delegates would also be making any bylaw votes too. That they represent the business of the organization.
Yeah. And so normally it would entail traveling to where the convention is being held, but it pretty sure will be held virtually this year. So if we want to go ahead and nominate several people, hopefully more than three, to be able to fill those 3 spots. Do we have any nominations?
Generally, we'll get 8 or 10 or 12 nominations, and you vote for 3, and that vote will happen on Saturday, and the top vote getters will fill out the roster for whatever our membership certification will be. Sorry, kid, I keep stepping in.
Nope, it's all good.
I'll add some clarification. At least the dates set right now are February 28 to March 2, 2021, if that's helpful to anybody on their decision. And I don't know if anybody from national staff has more information on whether or not it's definitely online or not at this point.
If the chair is okay, I can talk about sort of the process that's underway. There's no decision that's been made just yet.
For sure.
Great. So the national board will be meeting December 18th. So it's a couple of Fridays from now. And we'll be considering, we'll take action on what the final form and composition and structure of the national convention will be like. I think it's very safe to say it will be virtual. Just simply the restrictions and the conditions in California. It was supposed to be in San Francisco, which I was really looking forward to, but California is one of the more restricted in terms of activity and meetings and gatherings states in the country right now. So it's not even clear if we would be able to conduct a convention in person. My guess is that it will be done over Zoom in a similar fashion to this meeting. There will be at least, I think, a recommendation that the policy debate be pretty limited, maybe just to reaffirming the 2020 policy that was passed in March in Savannah of 2020 this year, and then a limited number of special orders of business that will be that can be proposed but will be reviewed and ultimately maybe submitted to the delegate body by the policy committee that will meet as it usually does. Although we'll likely do that too a little bit differently, since meeting in DC is not really an option. The one thing I would add to, Ryan, and I think you're spot on with those dates, given that it is going to be conducted virtually, I think at least our experience as national staff in assisting with these is that people get zoomed out if we do 2 or even very long days. So I think our intention, and obviously the board will ultimately make a decision, it could be to do 2 days, because we do have some bylaw requirements that we at least present certain things like the bylaws to the delegate body at least 24 hours in advance of any action. But it might be 2 half days, and it might stretch into that very beginning of March. So let me get my calendar, maybe as late as that Tuesday, March 2nd, if that makes a difference.
We ran into a little bit of that with flying too. I mean, our flying participants kind of had to commit to being available for full days for 3 different days. And even though they didn't put near that much time on Zoom, they had to kind of commit those days to being available. And I would assume it would be real similar with this.
I would suspect so. I think our hope would be to just do it in the mornings, but for, to be safe, and certainly if there was a dawn, if the board had a different preference, we could easily adjust that too. Yep.
Thanks, Ethan.
May we have those dates again?
Yep. So I think the range of dates that you might want to consider as in play would be Saturday, stretching from Saturday, sorry, my calendar got away from me. Saturday, the February 27th through Tuesday, the 2nd, with final dates being provided that week in December. We can get those out that Friday afternoon, the 18th, after the board decides.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nominations?
Herb Bartle, I nominate Ryan.
Ryan's nominated.
This is Tom Giesel. I want to nominate Olivia.
I'm not sure I can be nominated, Don.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw if I need to.
Tell them why, Olivia.
So because of the weirdness that is 2020, I think it's not finalized yet, but I think it's similar to what's going to be decided on the 18th with the National Board of Directors, but they're going to be bringing back the 2020 Policy Committee to fulfill the duties required of the 2021 Policy Committee. So that being said, I was our representative for Kansas last year, and should we move forward with using the previous committee, then I will also be our rep, but it will not, my second time around will not count against us in the rotation. We're just kind of putting the rotation on pause for a year. So I don't think I can fulfill both policy committee and delegate roles.
Tom would argue with you on that.
I would, but I'm not going to argue with her. No, yeah, okay, if you want not to, that's fine. I don't think it's appropriate. We used to always like to have our policy person on national policy also be a delegate, because they could make motions and function that way. But
well, I think last year perhaps we decided for me not to be a delegate so that another person could come to convention. Don, was that our thought process? I think.
Okay, I'm going to withdraw my nomination.
We still
But
need
if-
one more
but if
nomination.
somebody-
people.
if
We're
we can-
behind time here. We need to get to hopping.
Okay, so we've got one for sure. We've got Ryan's nomination. Do we have any others?
I'll
Come on,
nominate
we've got at least two
Donna.
more.
Donna, if
Donna.
there's a wish. Yes.
Donna's nominated.
Donna, do you accept? Oh, did you say you do? You're still on mute.
I do.
All right. One more at least.
This is Tom. I'd like to attempt to nominate Jill Elmers.
Attempt.
I like that attempt, Tom. Yes.
You're welcome.
Jill, that was an acceptance?
Yes.
Okay, so we have three now. We can have additional nominations as well. Are there any others who would like to either nominate themselves or have someone nominate them?
And this is an opportunity for people that can't usually get away from the farm to be involved in the voting process.
Mhm.
So this is a unique situation.
If I can nominate more than one, I kind of wondered if Jack Geiger, if you're willing to accept a nomination.
I probably could, Ryan. I have the technical ability.
I believe in you.
All right, so Jack has accepted, so now we're up to 4. Are there any further nominations?
I'd like,
Demetria.
All right. Don nominates Demetria. Demetria, do you accept?
Sure, I accept.
Okay.
You sound so excited.
What about Jason? I would nominate Jason if it doesn't interfere with the dairy.
Jason, do you accept?
Must be pulling a calf.
Okay, well, we will definitely let Jason know that he's been nominated. I believe that we will be voting at 10 well, at least tomorrow morning. I think it's 10, right?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, yes. Thank you for the correction. So if he actually does not want to do it, he will just not show up on the ballot.
And we, just to stress, we're not membership certified yet, so we'll fill delegates from available slots from the top vote getters down.
Okay, so do we have any further nominations?
This is Donna. I'd like to nominate Ed.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the nomination, but I'll decline.
So what
Thank
about
you.
Mary?
Mary, yes. Mary?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Talking to this Mary.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll throw one more in for Don Stoll, if you're interested.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
Such
You sound so
enthusiasm.
excited too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, another acceptance. Great. These nominations, in my time, I've seen go much easier than the board of director nominations. Okay, so do we have any more nominations for National Convention delegates?
Jason would like to be removed from consideration.
Okay. Thank you for getting a hold of him, Ryan. All right. Any others going once? Going twice?
What about Paul Conway? Paul? Ryan, what are you looking at me that way for?
She just keeps trying to count down, Don, and I mean, it's a little humorous. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not hearing him getting on. Okay. Let's wipe her up. Thank you, Olivia.
All right. So sounds like we've got all of our nominees for National Convention, and we will be voting on those on Saturday morning, along with all of the other elections that we have.
Thank you. And your silent Laverne, too. Okay,
Can you read the
running.
list over?
What?
Can you read the list over again of who's nominated?
I can.
Please.
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, we have Don Stahl, Ryan Gertson, Brigadier Olivia declined. I'm sorry, I'm writing these down my list here. Donna Pearson McClish, Jill Elmers, Jack Geiger, Demetria Stevens, and that's it, because I took the ones that declined out of there. 1, 2, 3.
I have down Don Stoll.
Yeah, I said him first.
Oh, okay.
If I had to put him at the top of the list, I ran out of the sheet of paper I was writing on.
What about Tom? Did you read Tom?
Tom Giesel?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't, and I'll decline.
Okay. I thought you were nominated.
No, I wasn't. Thank you, though. I'm usually the alternate that hangs way back there. Something falls apart.
Yes, and you're usually there.
That's 6. So I have 6.
All righty. Thank you. Policy drafting time. This is usually when I turn it over to Tom. You want to run this show, Tom?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess I really wasn't prepared. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we held a policy drafting meeting on the 11th, and we had really good participation and really good discussion. And out of that, we have some proposed special orders, and it was the feeling of the policy drafting committee that we couldn't appropriately go through the entire policy by video, and that we should basically renew last year's policy with the exception of being willing to open it up to insert new policy at special requests. That's not the committee's decision to make. It's the delegates' decision to make. So if that's what the delegates wish, then we would want to do it here. We do have some special orders, and we do have some proposed bylaw changes that came out of the bylaw committee to deal with. But addressing policy first, we are prepared to run through the policy part by part. Ryan's got it ready to boot up and go. So this is where it's time for delegates to have a discussion. I'm not used to this group being silent all the time.
I believe policy we have to just carry it forward. It just, that's what we always use it the year prior just for a pattern, which is pretty much the same thing, but with the exception of making any changes due to just because the numbers calendar might be changed or whatever, I guess I would move to move that policy from 2019 forward. And if anybody had anything special that they wanted to address, that now would be the time. But otherwise, that's what I would propose.
And that's a motion.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second?
I'm
I
out with
would
second.
second it.
I'm gonna take Dan Hagen guess because he's the loudest. I didn't pick up the other voice.
Dan
Or
Howell.
Dan Howell, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
That was me, Mary.
Oh, okay. I'll take Mary. Cool. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I would just say, I think in times like this, we have to put our faith and trust in our officers and our board that as the year goes on, if something comes up, that they have the wisdom and with the backing of the policy that they can make decisions that are appropriate to what the organization would expect from them.
Well said. If no further discussion, poll time. If you want to suspend policy drafting, I shouldn't say it that way. The motion is to renew last year's policy with the exception of any specific opening of the policy requested. Did I word that right, Tom?
I think so, and with any minor changes that would be correct, that would correct it far as dates, times, numbers, so on and so forth. That would just bring it up to speed. And then this also, just as a matter of fact, we're not talking about special orders, we're just talking about the policy.
Yes. So if you vote yes, you're voting to renew last year's with the exception of special requests. Vote now. Looks good, 100%. Okay, at this point, is there any special requests to insert into policy? Hearing none, this may be a fast policy this year. What the heck are we going to do Saturday morning?
Let Ryan do his speech Saturday morning.
There you go. I should have started with bylaws because we could come back and work policy on Saturday, but bylaws have to be nominated tonight to meet our bylaws for the day before. So we got special orders that can be addressed later, but we probably ought to hit bylaws in case we run out of time tonight. We've kind of got an interesting discussion going there. Ryan, are you available to bring that concoction up that you created?
Mm-hmm. Give me just a moment. All right, please let me know if you can't see the screen I'm sharing.
We can see it.
Would you mind zooming just a little bit?
A little bit more?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I can pull up the current bylaws side by side here, but that might make the text pretty small. So if you have the ability, I think Mercedes emailed those all out as part of the delegate packet. If you want to see the context around these specific points, I guess I'd ask that you open them up on your own computer or have it printed out, etc. Don, do you want to lead this or you want me to talk through it?
Yeah, I can. Delegates, we we had a anomaly in how our bylaws have evolved where you could charter a chapter with 10 members, but you couldn't have a delegate until you had 20 members. And so this first section is an attempt to address that. And what the bylaws is proposing is having 10 members per delegate instead of 20. And so this is time for discussion. This isn't necessarily the right way. This is up to the delegates to decide. And so if this is what you want to do, then we need to do a motion from the floor and approve it. And it would have taken effect a year from now.
Point of clarification, Don, so people might know what's in red is new language. The line through strikes out the old, just so they know that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, and this is Laverne. If you printed off your bylaws, it's highlighted in black and white also.
Well, these are proposed changes that the bylaws committee came up with earlier this evening, Laverne. And so
this is Ed in Nemaha County. We have 134 members, and if we had a delegate for each 10 members, that put us at 13. We have trouble getting active. Well, sometimes, we're not able to get all our current delegates to a face-to-face convention. So, it's, it could be a significant increase in the overall delegates. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. It's just kind of a practical thing for us getting active participants at a convention.
that's a good point.
But I like the reducing the number to 10 for small chapters.
This is Tom, Pawnee County, and you note that we went from chapter to county. And I think this will eventually become more apparent that for us as an organization with, declining numbers of farmers and smaller areas, county lines don't specifically necessarily fit what we are as farmers, what we are as organizations. So I think that's a real positive thing to talk about chapter organization, because we may be looking in the future of morphing the charters we issue to chapters rather than counties.
So this is what is the wishes of the delegates. What we decide tonight will be voted on formally on Saturday after we've had time to stew on it.
This is Tom again. One question in section A, we still refer to county organizations on line 3 and county organization should all references to county be changed to chapter?
Makes sense. Sure glad I'm not doing that.
I would also note, just as a point of clarification for anybody, that the way this is set up, there is a line here about major fraction thereof. So just so you understand that some a chapter that has 14 members would only have one delegate, but a chapter that has 16 members would get two, because that's over the half of that fraction. So that's also what some of this language here means for your consideration. That is already in the bylaws.
Well, we're not hearing a lot of discussion. I guess I'd like to throw it back at Ed and Mary and say, how could we fix this that wouldn't add an extra burden to the larger chapters?
Well, this is Tom on national level, and I don't like it, but they do weighted votes. So you vote, if you had 120 members and you could theoretically have 12 delegates, but you could also have 4 delegates that would they would vote 30 members or 30 votes instead of 10. And I don't want to go there too bad, but on the other hand, having a large membership is a good problem to have.
I don't particularly like the weighted part of it. I think, it's a way for a large chapter to, dominate voting without really having all the representatives there. So I'm just wondering if, kind of a middle ground would be to, make the threshold 10 like we have proposed, and then add additional delegates for each 15 members.
So why go to 15? Why not do the 10 and then 20 like it is now?
Because the 15 would give smaller chapters, additional delegates at a lower number of members than the current 20.
Okay. Is that a amendment you would like to submit?
I mean, I would submit it. This isn't a issue that I feel real strongly about, but I would make a motion that we go with the 10 for the initial delegate, and then for additional delegates, it'd be based on 15 members.
I second it.
Okay. Further discussion? So this isn't voting the final vote, but this is a poll to say if we want to submit this for bylaw change. So if you can bring the poll up.
Wait, question, Don.
Yes.
This gets it up to where it's voted on, but can it be amended on Saturday, the proposal?
I have no idea. Do you?
I think it can, but I just, as a point of information, because I've been thinking a little bit more about this, and I thought, well, maybe you ought to have, one way of doing that is have, 2 delegates for the first 10 members, and then every 20 thereafter. That kind of addresses the low people get a little more, and the high people don't have so much strain on to get delegates. But I'm not trying to muddy the water here, but anyway, I guess I'll stick with my initial concern is, can this be amended, or is this the way it'll be presented? I think this is the way it probably will be presented, up or down vote, would be, right?
That would be my inclination, but
okay.
But anyhow, I don't have a passion about this either. I'm just wanting to say we need to fix an anomaly in our bylaws somehow.
I think Tom's suggestion is a good one.
You hear that, Tom? So how do you? How do you write it up then? I guess that's Ryan's job.
I guess maybe, because I'm sorry, I muddied the water here. But the anomaly we're trying to address is different than, I mean, we're getting into a different area than that anomaly. So I don't know for this year, if you address that anomaly and then come back next year with a better plan. And Dawn, you want to explain that, kind of refresh everybody what the anomaly is exactly?
Well, we allowed by bylaw change a few years ago, charters to chapter with 10 or more members rather than what it previously was at 20 or more members. And so we've had chapters charter now that has 10 but don't have 20. And yet for delegates to the state convention to represent, it had to have at least 20 members to be a delegate. So it just isn't right. If we're going to allow a chapter to charter, then they need to be represented at the table. So this is how it's evolved now.
This is Linda. So
Go ahead, Linda. Linda?
now can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Ultimately, this is to get more, allow more people to participate in the convention.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's to fix a problem where we shouldn't be letting Donna vote right now because she's not, according to our bylaws, eligible to be a delegate.
I see. Okay.
And so we're just trying to make sure that everybody that are members have the right to be represented.
Got it. Thank you.
Would we, if we move to 2 delegates for a chartered chapter, would we have 2 alternates as well, or leave it at 1 alternate?
I'd leave it at 1.
Okay.
The way it sits right now.
The original motion. What, Jack?
The way it sits right now, Don, looks like you're accomplishing all concerns.
Okay. So I'm going to assume that everybody's agreeable to how it's been amended. Go back to the poll. If we got to vote yes, it'll be submitted for a final bylaw vote on Saturday. Vote yes to support amending the bylaws this way. Vote no if you want it to stay the same. Vote now. Okay. 94% voted yes, 6% voted no, motion carried. Next one.
Okay, I need to ask for clarification for the notes. The motion was Ed's motion, correct? Not what the discussion was.
No, it actually morphed into Tom's.
Well, it didn't get amended, so we need to clear that up. I hate to be a stickler, but I'm being a stickler.
Thank you, Mary.
So the way it reads now will be 10 or more regular dues paying members in good standing shall be entitled to 2 delegates and 1 alternate to the state convention. And then it goes on to say charter organizations with more than 20 regular members in good standing shall be entitled to 1 additional delegate and 1 alternate for each 20 regular members or major fraction thereof. So the only change is we went from the original motion to if you got 10 or more, you get 2 delegates.
Okay, and Ryan, are you writing this up for how it's
Got it
gonna?
all pretty already here.
We're live editing here, Mary, so we're ready to
Okay,
go.
so you have it ready for Saturday. That's my concern.
That is
Thank
correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, the next one was elections.
We need to vote on that.
We did vote on it. It passed 94 to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, Article 5, elections. I had nothing to do with this. This is Ryan's scheme. You want to go at it, Ryan?
Sure. So the way the bylaws have read so far for the board of directors, your directors for the North and South District have 3-year terms. I believe the treasurer and secretary of the board are chosen by the board or invited to serve in that capacity. And then president and vice president have been elected every year. I think it's helpful if you're trying to work in an organization and create change and move things along or make connections or build partnerships with other organizations or people to have a little bit longer length of time than a year voting on leadership positions. So I'm proposing that we elect the president and vice president every 2 years opposite each other for a little bit of leadership continuity. We also, during the bylaws meeting, talked about adding optional at-large director. That's someone that the board of directors could invite to serve on the board if they have particular gifts or knowledge or connections that we are wanting to bring into the decision making. That is designed here in this language to be something that could be filled by the board, wouldn't have to be. There are 8 voting board members right now, I believe, and so this would bring it to 9, and that we didn't really feel like that would create too much of a power imbalance should, I guess, that choice be a bad one. And we also wanted to strike from the language here, member may run for no more than 1 district seat at any one convention. I was not in charge of why we removed that, so someone else might have to explain that, but that's my speech. Any questions?
And they don't have to be all accepted or none accepted. These can be broke up or the whole thing
Sure.
can be forced.
You can edit it.
These are just the suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember why we were taking out 3 too. Was that a Tom thing?
I hope
Yeah.
not. I don't
Tom explained it well.
remind me.
Well, you said it dated back to when we had 8 districts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that actually it goes back when we had 8 districts. Every position on the board was considered a district. And we wanted to make sure that, you could have somebody from like South Central District could have that position, plus he could also, or he or she could also run for president or vice president, so they'd hold 2 positions on the board. And I don't know that that applies so much now.
And I might just add that the optional at-large director came around because of a lot of discussion, but the nucleus of it was last year, Ryan and Matt running for vice president. Matt gets defeated. He didn't get on the board of directors, so he's gone, and that is legal and fair, and that's all okay. But Laverne was bothered enough by that he asked if he could step down from his position and the board appoint Matt to fill his position out. And we were happy to do that. We were sad to lose Laverne. So this would give some flexibility if that rare thing happened again sometime, that if we had a valuable person that we felt should be involved, we had a little bit of flexibility to add a board position.
And I think also, well, yeah, I agree. That's the impotence of it. Yeah.
Thoughts? What's the wishes of the delegates?
I move the proposed amendments that are on the screen at the moment.
This Laverne, I'll second it.
Tom moved, Laverne seconded. Further discussion? Right.
This is Demetria, I have a question.
Sure.
So just a basic question. There will be 5 people that you're dealing with, for sure 4. 2 of them will always be officers and 2 of them will always be directors. Is that how the bylaws should be read?
No.
Or can officers also be directors?
It's just the same term for both positions. I mean, it's the same position for both terms. So we have 6 district directors or officers, 3 from the North District, 3 from the South District.
Okay.
And then an at-large president and an at-large vice president from the entire state.
So how many people total are your leadership roles? 8. Okay.
We're proposing we're proposing having the option for a 9th, and if it would be wise, and selected by the board.
Okay, thank you.
Don, does the board ever perceive that it would be advantageous to have an odd number of directors? Or is the board stuff so harmonious that 8 people always can come to a reasonable?
That's a logical question. Usually if it's contentious enough that it's a split vote, we would hash it out some more till we got to somewhere where we could come to a decision. But that's a very good point.
So being involved in OCI, we do have precedents where just such a situation arose. And, there was shenanigans, what have you, perhaps where people would abstain from voting to cause situations like that. And, if, maybe it's the German in me trying to over-engineer something, but I think that an odd number of directors is a desirable situation.
It's not uncommon that when a board is comprised of members who represent specific districts, that they also have an at-large district that members, across the organization get to vote on the at-large member.
Okay. So it sounds like we're pretty well in agreement with that then. You can have a motion to move this forward?
I might just ask a clarifying question to Jack or Ed. Would you be in favor of making that 9th position a permanent seat then? I mean, as it's written right now, it's optional for the board to kind of fill if they feel like it or don't. And so I guess the possibility is there, but it's not kind of a given. I didn't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, my question is, okay, do we make that an at-large director voted by the entire organization, or is that a board of directors? Where it is here, it's a board of directors decision, not
And,
a.
and if we create a permanent position and an at large, then we haven't addressed the problem we're trying to address by the optional.
Yeah. It's a good point too.
I mean, we can do that. It's the will of the delegates, but yeah. So did you at one point move to approve this, Tom, or was that a different section?
I moved to to accept it as what's on the screen right now. That's what I thought I did.
Yeah, good.
And then Laverne seconded it.
Yeah, that's right. Laverne seconded. Good. So we're ready to vote. Bring up the poll. If you vote yes, it's to propose these bylaw changes for final vote. Vote now. Yes, 88%, no, 12%. Motion passes. Cool. Next one, young man.
I believe those are the only two we were bringing forward.
Okay.
We discussed other items, but decided not to bring them forward at this time, to my memory, unless someone else wants to correct me.
Is there any other proposed bylaw changes? Mercedes muted me, boy. Is there any other proposed bylaw changes? So, to extend the conversation, we had a long discussion about maybe long-term looking at a regional chapter system rather than a county chapter system. I don't know if it's convenient for Mercedes to bring that map up at this time, but this is staff and especially Mercedes put a lot of work into these county regional Zoom meetings. And so the way the system is right now, we have mostly county chapters, but we got our two new chapters, which aren't counties, they're regional. And we have all these inactive counties that when you get a member, you don't know where to stick them. And so Mercedes has been lobbying hard for adopting a regional chapter structure. So you want to give your sales pitch, Mercedes?
Oh, yes, I'm unmuted. Okay. So when we had to come up with a plan to get delegates when we couldn't have in-person county meetings, we took a look at the Excel from the database, and there were so few counties that actually you can see here under the black ones, the number of members in a county. So we really only have, Mary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about 4 chapters that actually have their meetings every year to elect their delegates. So we decided we wanted to try to get everybody involved, and so we grouped the counties together. And I don't know which is the best picture. But this has also impacted when we get new members, and we are getting new members through insurance, and they're in areas that may not always have an active chapter. So when we took a look at all that, we grouped them so that we made sure each of these different colors would be considered a chapter for this year, and they met the minimum number of members that they could actually become a chapter if they wanted. Active counties stayed individual, like Republic and Washington and Marshall, and we tossed Jack Geiger in with Nemaha there, so we have Brown and Donovan. But what it helps is we can direct new members to a chapter. Right now, they're just kind of floating out there and they never get contacted. So we're hoping to develop a new database and put it in place this summer. Our majority of our members renew in, I think Cammie said August, September, and October are big months. So if we were able to get the ability to try to group counties together into chapter zones, that would be really helpful. And then I know, Don, you had some concerns about them naming themselves, but our hope is to activate these areas. And that would be easier to activate a 5-county area in Northwest Kansas than Mary trying to get enough people together in just a few counties that may only have 1 or 2 members each. So that's just kind of what we're looking at.
Thoughts? The bylaws committee talked about it a long time and really felt this was a decision that should start on the delegate floor and see if we just want to throw it out or if we want to pursue it farther. Maybe not to make a decision on this convention, although Mercedes would love that, but at least to decide whether this is something that should be explored further.
Have other states done something like this? Go from the old county structure to a regional chapter structure?
Probably Ethan could chip in better than that. The only one that I can tell you I can tell you positively is Hawaii does it by island, but I think some islands have more than 1 chapter, but they're certainly not by the counties. Alaska is the same way. They're regional. I know both of them because I was involved in them some. I don't know if Ethan's awake or drinking bourbon by now, but do you know anything about other state structure from that?
No bourbon, but you know, I'm not aware of any that have made this precise change recently. Don, you may be able to correct me on a few things. One, I guess I would say that the majority of the state divisions, even the ones that are multi-state divisions, generally, there's very few that have, I think, subunits or subchapters. The vast majority of which are just singular state divisions for the most part. And it's just the sort of the ones that are of Kansas's membership size and larger that really do have any kind of subunit. I guess Hawaii would be the exception. But the other point I was going to make, and Don, maybe you have some perspective on this. You know, I think traditionally there were local and then county and then state level organizations. And I think that has pretty much entirely been done away with, and it's just essentially the state and then maybe a subunit of the state, and not. I don't even know if the Dakotas have a local level stuff anymore, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Tom pointed that out during our earlier discussion, and he suggested we name these regions locals.
Well, I think, yeah, there's a lot going on here, but I agree, Ethan. North Dakota may have some locals yet, but it's pretty rare. But I'm wondering if what we're really talking about is that if somebody joins and take my county like Pawnee, one of the surrounding counties, which aren't active, they ought to be able to attach to that nearest county that's already got a charter or that's in charter strength. And then eventually, if they got enough strength, they could, I think that's what we're trying to say is we attach these orphans, so to say, to a chartered county.
Yes.
It seems to me that some local or regional breakdown could help get more members involved, at least in a, if not in a county, in a regional chapter. So, you know, and it looked like if we did away with counties or chapters, the subunit of the state, that it would really discourage any kind of local involvement.
Yeah, and that's our grassroots. And so, what's the appropriate level? I know NFO has went to regions. I'm somewhat mixed, but I always kind of felt at some point we were going to have to look at a regional system in Kansas Farmers Union.
I think
I just don't want people that have pride of ownership to not have that option anymore. And I don't know if that's even an issue. If it would be, it'd probably be Nemaha County.
I think the National Young.
You broke up on us. You're locked up, Ed. Mary had in chat, Mary had said they were having issues there. He probably had a really good question there. I wonder what it was. Others? Thoughts?
I was going to say
there were two people talking. There's Ed. You want to start again?
Yes. National Young Farmers Association, I believe, uses their idea of a chapter is that people could drive to a meeting and drive home in one evening. It's some 50 or 60 mile radius.
I'd like to add that I've been with KFU since 2012, and we've chartered 2 chapters in that time, and both of them have not been a county chapter. So we tried for quite a while to get something going in Lawrence, and it wasn't until we pulled in the other counties that we were able to get the dynamics going that we have an active chapter now there. So I think that's the perspective I'm also coming from.
The last county we chartered was Chase County, and they're inactive again. And so that was kind of a flash in the pan. More of a regional structure would probably offer some more leadership opportunities to people that could.
In Northeast Kansas, Marshall, Potawatomi, and Nemaha County have been doing joint annual county meetings. We kind of rotate where it's going to be, which county. We meet together for whatever program we're going to have, and then we broke up into county members to hold our county meetings, and that gets more people out to doing it that way. 3 counties gets more people out to the meeting. I think some kind of a regional structure where people can get to a meeting and go back home in the same evening without, a 50, 60 mile area, I think is appropriate size for a chapter. And, I think it deserves some more thought and consideration, and I'd like to know more how other states, get members more active, and what kind of structure they think does that. So I think it's a good idea to be thinking about this, and I don't know that we figured out what the best structure is yet.
So from the tone of your conversation, you think it's a good idea to start having staff and board pursue, but not vote on it this convention?
Yes, that'd be my view at this point.
Anybody else?
I have a comment. This is Demetria. Kind of repeating what Ed's saying. it's pretty interesting that counties were boundaried so that you could ride your horse to the county seat within a day. So now we have cars that can go 60 miles and come back to our farms in a day. And now with the technology we have here, I'm able to get on this conference call with people from across the state, and I don't have to drive to eastern Kansas or somewhere else. So I think the digital option opens up a lot more doors for networking and organization.
I think with the numbers in the counties and a lot of places, I think it really makes sense to look at going regional, because even like Washington, Marshall, Nemaha, and Pot, I mean, it's kind of a block where, you know, doing some things together has worked fine. I think in the future it possibly makes sense.
Okay. Sounds pretty positive comments so far. So
I'll just chime in about what Ed was saying about the National Young Farmers Coalition. So we started a chapter of that group down in South Central Kansas here, I guess 2 springs ago. And we were kind of facing those same issues, but there was no pre-existing structure in that setting. But we decided to set the boundaries at no more than an hour and a half to 2 hours of drive time one way, you know, from one side of where our group started to the other. And so we kind of set like a Hutchinson, Wichita, Salina, almost to Emporia kind of boundary there. And that is not a bad idea. We do have pre-existing county structures here and counties that probably want to keep their identities, right? And so setting up something quite that broad probably isn't the way we want to go, but there's just some context for what I think maybe Ed was getting to about NYFC.
So this is significant enough in my mind that if we want to move in this direction, we should have a vote from the delegates of the convention as conducting business to instruct staff and board on what you want done.
Well, I'd be ready to support doing some more investigation. You know, I'm not ready to support that we decide that we're going to do away with counties and just go to regional structure across the board.
So I guess I'm thinking in my mind the motion would be something like, you know, we instruct the board and staff to explore regionalizing our membership chapters. Does that cover what people want to move forward and do?
Do we need a time frame for them to get back? I know we discussed this in our earlier meeting, that it would need to go to the board, to the convention next year, I believe. Would we need a time frame so it can be ready, or did I misunderstand that?
Well, this voting delegation that is working this through right now only meet once a year at state convention, unless we pull another special convention together, which we can, especially in the Zoom age. We could do another one 3 months from now if we wanted. And so, but this delegate body that's voting tonight isn't scheduled to meet until a year from now.
So, along with the other things that we have to do, I'm thinking about the evaluations, staff evaluations, and is this something that we want, and possibly, well, bylaws, possibly. Is this something we want to add to the list?
If I may, coming from a county with a large membership, we probably ought to, you know, be bringing this issue up at an annual meeting in our county before we would, you know, for some discussion within our county before I would want to sign off on, you know, going in this direction.
Okay, so I understand you to say that the counties and the districts and the counties need to meet as a result of what we're talking about tonight, changing to regional, and then we bring it to the committee of the board. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yes, but also if you're going to have this discussion in the counties, you need a structure to the discussion. So I don't know if you need any type of a base to start from.
Well, since
we've already had that through this discussion tonight, and we can go on from here.
And then the staff then can give us some input as a result of this discussion, and we take that to our counties and to our chapters, and then move on from there.
Okay, Tom's trying to talk.
Yeah, I just think couple thoughts flash through my mind. One is, I think if I was going to look at this, I'd take a map of Kansas, take all the counties out of it, and just have that bare map and put our membership on there and where it's at and what it represents, and try to get some focus there. Or maybe what we should do is hire some outside expertise to sit down with us, because, you know, maybe we can't see the forest because of the trees. I mean, every time I look at that map, all I see is counties, counties, counties. And I've said this before in earlier sessions that, you know, maybe, and even on a national level, I've always thought, why states? Maybe we should look at watersheds or look at other things that connect us, that make us a homogeneous group, or somewhat of a, pulls us together somewhat. But when I look at that map, and I appreciate what staff's done, I think they've done a marvelous job in kind of pulling some things together. Like, it's just almost like a magnet what draws things together. But I think we're still constrain ourselves to those damn county lines. If anything else, I'd rather have that map there with rivers on rather than with county lines.
So for your second part, that's a good point. For your first part, Mercedes has done all that already. I mean, that's what this map is showing is our membership base, and the best that she could come up with. And she consulted me a lot because I kept saying, no, that's a bunch of Bohemians there. You need to put them over there with that bunch and that kind of thing. So, you know, even through setting up that map, she was consulting me about which would be a good fit where to try and do it. And so this is kind of what we came up with. And I'm not saying it's a final work, but it's there's been a lot of work put in it.
Okay, and I apologize. I wasn't trying to minimize that whatsoever. I know she has, and maybe I didn't know well enough. So my apologies for coming across that way.
Well, since they put all the work in it, then maybe now it's time to go to take it to the local committees, as Ed suggested. Maybe we're making this too difficult when a lot of the work has already been done.
So I've got an idea, you know, down the road, in the next contact or two, if you had a full page map and just a little note about what you're possibly thinking about, and the members send back their ideas to the staff on kind of ideas that the whole membership might have to broaden the thought process a little.
That's not a bad idea. And I could focus the president's report around that too.
Right.
Kind of outlining the discussion we got up to this point. So
that would cut out on a lot of legwork.
And they may come up with some really good ideas.
Yes.
And they know their area. And they know their area about what might work together in a region to put together.
So
maybe
I'm interpreting we're going to table this. We have over 200 new members from the insurance discount program. So it's starting to have some effect. You know, it's going to help Nemaha grow more all the time. During Oli did 61 members, new ones.
Well, I don't think we're suggesting that we're going to make Nemaha County go away from the county structure, or Pot County, or any of the counties that get together now. But it certainly gives us a place to rest somebody that doesn't have a home. They can be part of a family with a county next to them that does.
So we're running up on 9 o'clock now.
Do we need a motion to table it?
That would be the proper way of doing it. And probably we've got our direction already without making it a motion. So,
okay.
And so is that a motion, Donna?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Was it?
Who was that?
It's Matt Ubel.
Okay. Hey.
Oh.
By the way, Matt said he was willing to serve again for that part of it. And so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Poll time. If you vote yes, you're voting to table the districting. Well, that pretty well told me everybody's ready to start drinking. Okay, 100%. So for the purpose of the minutes, girls, I think this would be listed as extensive discussion about possible charter districts, district charters, something like that was done. Motion was made to table till the next convention. And we've kind of got our understanding working order through that. So we will start having this discussion publicly in the contact. And I'm sure Mercedes won't let me forget it. So, where are we at time-wise, Mercedes? Can I quit now?
Mercedes, you're on mute. Okay.
Yep, I believe you can, Don.
Because we'll address special orders on Saturday morning. And I sent out a late what's been proposed from the policy committee. So if you have any more special orders you want added, you got till Saturday. We can do that all the way up to the end of convention. So our speaker might actually have input that might affect what we want to put in our special orders, and especially this time. So one last thing before I call recess is we've had 4 reliable perennial sponsors of our state convention, and that's Midwest Agency, National Farmers Union Insurance, Farm Credit, and North Central SARE / KSAC Kerry Ebert. Not only did they all re-sponsor this virtual convention where they're not getting the coverage they deserve, most of them upped it from what they've been doing. So keep kind thoughts for these 4 sponsors for us, and thank you all if you're watching. I'll call recess to our convention, and we will reconvene at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, December 5th, and move forward. Okay, thank you all. You participated so well. Thank you for a good evening. We're in recess till Saturday morning.
Thanks, national staff.
Thank you.
Thank you,
national
guys.
staff. Yes.
And state
Absolutely.
staff.